We're going to call to order, have a roll call vote to get started.
Rodney G.
Present.
Doris Graham.
Present.
Craig Larson.
Here.
Mary Lubke. Here. Kevin M. Martin.
Here.
Ann Marshall. Here. Nicole Robinson.
Here.
I want to do what I failed to do last month, but I've been trying to do each month, which is briefly read the vision, mission, and value statement for the college, because that's what keeps us going in the right direction. So our mission is empowering students, expanding minds, and changing lives, which is wonderful. We see that when we're out interacting with our students. Our vision is the St. Louis Community College will be a national leader and model institution for inclusive and transformative education that strengthens the communities we serve through the success of our students. And our values, student first, everything we do supports student success and removes barriers. Respect for all, integrity, collaboration, and data-informed decision-making. Good to keep those thoughts in mind. I welcome all of our guests. Is anyone visiting that somebody wants to introduce to the rest of us? Don't know that that's true from the agenda, but okay. Are there any citizens wanting to address the board on a topic on the agenda?
Not on the agenda.
Okay. I think we do have somebody at the end of the meeting, right?
Yes.
On a non-agenda item. Good. Okay. I need a motion to adopt the agenda, either as presented or make recommended revisions.
So moved. Second.
As presented, correct?
Presented.
Okay. Any discussion of that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? I need a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Kevin moved.
Second.
Mary, did Annie beat Mary out? Okay, Annie. Annie seconded that motion. Any discussion of the minutes? Did you see anything in there that wasn't? Jessica does a nice job, but okay. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Say opposed? Nope. Okay. Recognition of students and staff accomplishments. Bill.
Good evening, Chair Larson and Chancellor Pittman, trustees, guests, faculty, staff. Tonight we are honoring the recipients of the 2023-24 Excellence Awards from the League for Innovation in the Community College, as well as one of our campus presidents for her career and community service. So first, our Excellence Award winners. The League for Innovation has been dedicated to informing, inspiring, and celebrating innovation in learning, teaching, and staff development, as well as student success for more than 50 years. Since 2012, the League has presented Excellence Awards to outstanding faculty, staff, and leaders in the community college field who have made significant differences in the lives of students and in the communities that their colleges serve. They recognize individuals who exemplify excellence in community college teaching and leadership. Individuals from any STLCC location can be selected to receive this honor, and this year's recipients will be honored at the League's Innovations Conference, which will be held March 17th through the 20th in Anaheim, California. First tonight, we would like to recognize Michelle Peterchak, Associate Professor of Nursing at Florissant Valley. Michelle has worked in the nursing profession for 32 years and called STLCC her home for 10 of those years. She worked in lecture and clinical positions in the college's nursing department before assuming her current position in the Nursing Skills Lab. Although she works at the Florissant Valley campus, she is a founding member of the Wildwood campus's nursing program. Michelle has served as a mentor for the college's Student Nurses Association and as faculty advisor, and volunteers her time with students at the Missouri Student Nurses Association and National Student Nurses Association each year. After joining the college, she found her passion in the combination of nursing and teaching. She is inspired by the energy, enthusiasm, and dedication of her students. So we would like to congratulate Michelle and ask her to come up for a photo, and if she's here.
Unfortunately, she's not here.
She is not here tonight, so congratulations to Michelle. Next, we recognize Lindsay Fox. Lindsay is an associate professor of respiratory care at Forest Park. Lindsay also is the program director for both the associate and bachelor's degree programs for respiratory care. Lindsay developed the state proposal and successfully navigated the Higher Learning Commission and the Commission on Accreditation for Respiratory Care process to get the college's first bachelor's degree program provisional accreditation. She also created the school's curriculum, including developing the degree program's new courses, and established the application and admission processes for students. Lindsay has been a respiratory care educator for 16 years, with the past 10 at STLCC. She has led the program to receive the COARC Distinguished Registered Respiratory Credentialing Award for the past 4 years. She has served as a COARC site visitor since 2014. She was elected as a COARC board commissioner in 2018, where she currently serves as the secretary to the board. So congratulations to Lindsay, and we would ask her to come up for a photo. Along with Bill Hubble, if he's here.
What he just said is so hard.
Oh, I know.
Wow. I've heard it. It's awesome.
Next, we would like to recognize Amanda Galogli, supervisor of the Writing Center at Forest Park. Collaborating with her colleagues in academic success and tutoring, Amanda guided her department through significant growth following the pandemic. The Writing Center increased its number of tutors to 12 from 3 and raised the overall usage by 126%, including both online and in-person sessions. And today, the center is a vibrant writing community where students, peer tutors, professional tutors, and faculty members collaborate and connect around the written word. She encourages and advocates for students and staff alike, highlighting their talents and identifying opportunities to advance their unique writing and career aspirations. Amanda has helped launch a campus literary journal and tutoring services for the Progress Attained Through College Education program, which serves people incarcerated at the St. Louis County Jail. She is also in the process of building a peer writing tutor program that will benefit all community stakeholders. She has taken a lead role in developing and implementing AS&T training and securing the department's recertification through 2026. Congratulations to Amanda. Please come forward for a photo with Kim Halliman as well.
Yeah, man.
Our final Excellence Award honoree tonight is Gwendolyn Verhoff, PhD, Professor of History and Chair of the Liberal Arts Division at Wildwood. Outside the classroom, Wendy has actively contributed to campus life, dedicating her efforts to supporting students and collaborating with colleagues. Notable contributions including leading faculty and administrative search committees, chairing the campus senate, and serving as a club advisor. She has also taken an active role in global education and DEI initiatives. Beyond STLCC, Wendy continues to demonstrate scholarship and service by sharing her knowledge of America's nuclear history, including the implications of nuclear weapons productions for human health and the environment. Her work has gained recognition in both national and local media. Furthermore, she has taken the initiative to coordinate a symposium and actively participate in community events dedicated to honoring uranium workers. Congratulations, Wendy. Please come forward with Stephen White.
This is a good one.
Congratulations. I appreciate it.
Our final honoree this evening is Elizabeth Gassel Perkins, EHD President and Chief Academic Officer at Florissant Valley. Last week, Dr. Perkins received the 2024 Natalie Moulton Gibbons Alumni Achievement Award from the University of Montevallo's National Alumni Association. The award recognizes an alum whose contributions through career or community service reflect positively on society at the local, state, or national level. Dr. Perkins earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees in English from the university. While at STLCC, Dr. Perkins has led task forces on developmental education redesign and waitlisting options for students, and has served on a variety of committees for the college and the campus. Her passion and work with developmental education redesign and removing barriers to education is fueled by her commitment to access for all, as these barriers disproportionately impact students of color nationwide. Dr. Perkins' contributions stretch beyond the campus. She serves as an executive board member and past chair of North County Incorporated, current board member of the Greater North County Chamber of Commerce, and vice chair of the Soul Fisher Ministries. In 2019, Dr. Perkins received the Outstanding Education Award from North County Churches Uniting for Racial Harmony and Justice for her support of NCCU's activities and Florissant Valley's sponsorship of the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. She also has been recognized by the Christian Hospital Foundation as a Drum Major Award recipient in 2021. And under her leadership, the campus also received the Diversity and Inclusion Leadership Award from North County, Inc. in 2021. Congratulations to Dr. Perkins. Unfortunately, she's under the weather, could not join us this evening, but we congratulate her nonetheless. And that concludes tonight's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think our next topic is the quarterly finance report. Mark?
You'll be tired of me by the time we're done tonight. So, Muha's got to pull it up. Did you pull it up, Muha? There we go. This is for the second quarter, so through December 31st of 23. So, let's see if it'll work. There we go. Nope, I went too far. So we had $91 million, $91.7 million worth of revenue compared to $78 million last year. Most of that is timing. We had approximately $8 million of additional tax collections from the county and the cities, the local tax revenue. In addition, we had a significant increase in investment income, which the combination of those two drove the entire increase in revenue from last year to this year. The expenses and the breakdown of revenue we'll talk about here in a second. For revenue, you'll see that the $48 million that we had for local taxes compared to last year was $40 million. And you know, we would like to have all of the tax collections as of December 31st, but as of today, we have approximately $89 million compared to that $48 million that's on the slide, and we're expecting another $16 million that we should get. We should get some more this month, but it'll probably, this will be the last month, and then it'll dribble in through the end of the year. As it relates to, you'll see the other income, other revenue on the 24, you'll see the $6,494,000. That is where the interest income is recorded, and we'll talk about interest and investments later on. Expenditures, salaries and wages are really up. We haven't really added that many. It's the contractual increases that from our union contracts, and also the accumulation of adjustments for non-unit as well as unit people that gets you to the $44 million. Benefits are up $3.56 million. I will tell you that the benefit numbers, this is an accounting way we do it. We use what's called a composite fringe rate. That composite fringe rate is an estimate of the actual, and that's developed 2 years prior to this. So the 22 numbers, FY22 numbers, are used to calculate a percentage for 24. We're running a little bit high, 14.9. We will end up making an adjustment at the end of the year. My point is that isn't the actual benefits that we're paying out. in any given period. It's always an estimate. And a lot of this has to do with grant accounting and what we can charge through grants and government type of things. Operating expenses are up 1.82 million. In reviewing that, didn't see anything in particular other than one item, which is the insurance, as I think we discussed it when we were talking in the June meeting last year. Our increase in property insurance went up approximately $600,000, of which we pay. These are cash basis statements, so we pay it in July, and so the insurance is paid for the entire year. So, along with, as a side note, that number will probably continue to increase a little bit because as we bring on the new buildings, we're going to end up with, a more dollar value of properties. Transfers are the same as they were. We usually front load those. These are transfers out of the current operating funds only. So we'll see some other ones later on. Utilities, you'll see that electricity is running a little bit hot. Not really that significant considering that it's been a little bit warmer than normal. And you can see that water is higher. If you remember, in the first quarter we had a water leak at Flow Valley, and then we also filled the pool at Forest Park a couple of times, which drove up the water bill. Facilities has indicated that we have solved both of those problems. So we should see that number go down as we go forward into the third quarter. Gas, for just to remind you how we do gas, we enter into futures contracts, which we don't want to get into the weeds of that, but we buy gas on the open market, and the gas has been going down. And so that gas that we purchase in the futures contracts will benefit us because Spire charges more. So if you were going to go out to Spire and see your utility bill, the gas price that they're charging is set at the beginning of the year, and it's always set high, which is one of the reasons why we like to participate in this program where we sell the gas back to Spire. So it's down, and it's been down. We had a significant positive variance in the second quarter of this year. Technology fee, you'll see that we have revenues and expenses of 1.56 million on the revenue and 1.53 for the previous year. Expenses are running approximately the same. The difference between those two numbers for this year relate primarily to, if I remember right, it was the software payments for 3 different programs, Proctor, Tutor, and Infrastructure, that we paid in the third quarter last year, and they were paid in the second quarter this year. So those account for the difference on the expenses and transfers. College and student activities, you'll see that, again, on the transfers, if you look at the actual statements, you'll see that anything that is transfer is usually front-loaded in the beginning of the year. We've had a higher amount of student-led trips for this year than we have in the previous year, and that's as we continue to get back to in-person education, we're going to see more and more trips, whether it's athletics or the like. And in public safety, pedestrian traffic, the difference there is roughly $106,000 that relates to defibrillators. We purchased 80 defibrillators to spread around the campuses because ours we either didn't have them or they were outdated. So we have purchased those in the second quarter.
Mark, question on as you say about that. Do we have other? I'm trying to think of the Narcan and other things in those defibrillators and ADA machines that, whether it's EpiPens or other things available for in case of emergencies that are regularly accessible?
I'm sure we do. I can't verify that personally, but I don't think
Dr.
that.
Davis, do you want?
Narcan is, so that was a new addition, so we've added Narcan. I'm not sure about
EpiPens?
and such, but Narcan definitely.
I don't think we have EpiPens, we have 3 applicants.
Does any of the certainly no, I'm not trying to go out on a trail, but when you brought up defibrillators. I know EpiPens are certainly becoming more widely with different things of just, even if they're not in all of them, but on college campuses, do we have any, if not just something to think about is, I know you have to have a prescription form, but I know that you can get a blank prescription and have some stored, because certainly allergies are something that doesn't take long, and EpiPen could certainly save someone's life in a short amount of time.
Definitely need to
Probably
look into
call
it.
911 in that situation.
Yeah.
Need to look into it.
But we do have Narcan, and we do have Stop the Bleed kits. Thank you.
Mark, quick question. The purchase of the defibrillators, does that include the training as well?
I'm not sure on that. I will have to find that answer out for you. It was done through risk management. Brad Ziegler was the one that acquired those. I'd need to get with him and get the details on that for you, which I can do.
Did we get the ones that are like self-talking?
They're auto defibrillators.
Oh, perfect.
They still, you still want to know how to orient.
Right.
They talk.
Student services fee. The difference in expenditures on that is the transfers is the $100,000 that you approved to transfer to the scholarship for food needs and for special needs. So that's the only increase off the student fees for the year compared to previous year. Other funds that we have in the actual documents are the rental facilities, student aid, restricted auxiliary, agency, self-insurance, and capital funds. I will tell you that on auxiliary enterprises funds, which I did not present the slide as it relates to it, but this year is a different model than we've had in the past, because we've taken our bookstore and put it out to Academos, which is Vital Source now. They were acquired by Vital Source. And then also our food service, American Dining Creation. So we're looking at what is auxiliary services going to look like going forward. So in the budget process, we're addressing that issue. On the balance sheet, I'd like to give you the position. We have roughly $4.5 million worth of cash. That number, I've purposely brought it down to more of our needs so that I could increase the investments. And as of December 31st, we had a little over $200 million in investments, and so a total of $205.3 million, and which works out to 13.1 months of cash and investments available for operations as it relates to our budget. These are the investments that were made during the quarter. As you can see, I always put it down at the bottom on the right-hand side what the yield is, 5.423%. If you remember in the past, I'd say in 22 we were very low. Part of that issue was due to what I call a duration problem, which is technical for saying what is the average length of time your investments are maturing, and we've lowered that duration because of the inverted yield curves as we talked back in July. So we're still, the yield curve is still inverted. It may be uninverting, and we'll talk about that during the debt presentation. I wanted to give you an idea of our transformed expenditures and grant receipts. Now, this is as of 2/5. So we have spent $62 million, and these are paid bills, $62.2 million, of which we've been reimbursed roughly $13 million from the state through a grant for Wildwood, which is $21 million, and a grant for Flow Valley Health Sciences, which is $20 million. The $20 million is under an ARPA grant. We'll look at that in a second. That $62 million has gone up to, as of today. We paid an additional roughly $10 million. So it's roughly $72 million as of today. We've put the slide in to try and give you an idea of what we have for construction from grant funds. We have the top number on Wildwood is $21 million. We've received approval of that. We have to spend it before June 30th of this year. The governor has put in their budget, in his budget, another $21 million for Wildwood. That would be July 1st. So we had a total of $42 million. We've received $6.5 million. So we've got roughly $35 million yet to draw on that grant, on the grant, if the 21 for FY25 is approved. The Flow Valley grant is an ARPA grant. That ARPA grant is you have till 12/31 of '24 to spend that. We're on target to do that, but we have to spend $40 million to get 20. But if you remember, the PERIC contract that you approved for Flo Valley Health Science Center was, I believe, $43 million. So they had one of the reasons why we took that contract was because they had a 24-day work period, which will expire at the end of the year. So we're anticipating that all work out fine.
Could you or Hart, just for my benefit, if we get the $42 million in Wildwood, what's the total expense for the building?
The current budget is $84 million. So this is 50% of that number. They
pick up almost half.
They will pick up half. Of course, that wouldn't include if there's cost overruns. With Hart assures me there won't be. But the $84 million is for the entire building, but it's the health sciences and technology out of Wildwood. The $20 million and the Flo Valley Center for Nursing is only the Center for Nursing, not advanced technology or whatever. We want to throw in some more items down here at the bottom, just so that you know that it's not just these funds. We constantly are going out trying to find additional funds for these programs. We've got equipment for advanced manufacturing of $3 million, truck driving for $2,110,000. These are mostly match. The last one is not, but most of them are match funds, so we put up half. I mean, we bill them and we get 50 cents back on the dollar. A finance guy's dream, right? That's the end of the quarterly financial report. I'm more than happy to answer any questions if you might have any.
Questions from board members?
I'll be back.
Already, thank you. Another discussion of employee benefits. Fine.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Pittman, Dr. Larson. We get to talk benefits again. I think this is the third board meeting in a row where we've got to talk benefits, but hopefully tonight we can get approvals and we can get the new plan
moving. Tonight we do approve this, correct?
I'm sorry?
Tonight we do approve.
Tonight we will approve it with one exception, which I will talk about because we have one outstanding piece that I just got yesterday. So let's jump right on into this. Last meeting, you did ask me for some data around how the plan is trending. So these first couple slides are going to look at some of that. This is a little bit of an eye chart, so I apologize for that. But this is essentially showing you how the plan is running. And this is through December of 2023. So this is 7 months of data for the plan year. A couple things that I'll draw your attention to are when you look at that left-hand side where you're looking at expected claims versus net claims. So expected is what we were budgeting for, net claims is what we've actually received in. And so right now, as of December, we're running at 104.5% of expected. So we are running hot. Mark just mentioned that as well. December, though, we did see some improvement. We were only at 91% of net expected. I've heard January is higher. I haven't seen the exact data yet, but I think we're going back up for January, and we've got a couple more who have crossed the stop loss barrier. So stop loss is the point when our insurance kicks in. So those are claimants who have hit $225,000 or more in total claims. And so what I would really look at if you're looking at historical is that center bottom graph. That's the previous full years of data compared to our current 7 months of data. So you can see in the 21 to 22 plan year, we ran really well. So we ran much lower than expected. Last year, we were about even. This year, we're trending significantly higher. And so that reflects a lot of what we're seeing overall in benefit claims.
Is it trending higher due to inflation or due to employees?
It's the claims.
Needing more.
It's the claims. So if you look, the large claimants, which are defined as anyone who hits $100,000 or more, is accounting for 21% of our total claim volume. So we have multiple very large claims that are coming through right now.
And some people are doing things that they couldn't do during COVID still, is getting catch up. And
yeah.
I mean, it takes forever. If you're going to have a procedure, it takes almost a year out to even start the process unless it's a medical emergency. It takes
Well-
forever to visit the specialist beforehand, schedule it.
We're also dealing with an aging population, so remember, we carry retirees in our plan, so this is on here as well. The retirees are included in this plan, these plan numbers. They do pay 100% of their premiums, but their claims may way out exceed what they're putting in. The other thing that Mark and I pay really close attention to is that final bullet on the right-hand side, which are prescription claims. And what you'll see there is our prescription claims are accounting for 40% of our total gross claims. Normal book of business for our broker is about 23%. There's a lot of specialty medications that are coming in there. And so we're looking a lot at rebates and what can we do around the formularies, all of those pieces of it, because it's a huge expense for us.
We talk about retirees. I'm just curious, is it required that we offer it to retirees, or is it just common practice in many
Under
institutions?
PSRS laws, we are required. So it's actually a component of PSRS for anyone who's on that plan. And under INSERP, we have matched that where they may stay on our plan up through age 70. So then you had asked me for a little bit of the breakdown of how the plans look compared to each other. So that's what this is looking at here. The left-hand side is the buy-up plan, then the base is in the middle and the HSA is on the right. What you'll see there is that buy-up plan, our claims that are coming in against participants who are enrolled in that plan are far exceeding the budgeted or expected claims amounts. You're about 2.1 million over what we were expecting on that plan. Base is running pretty well. HSA, the percentage is higher, but there's only 40 some odd people in there, 45 people on average in there. So you're running a little hot there, about $150,000 over the expected, but it's just a very small population to be able to absorb that. So the buy-up plan is where we're seeing most of those large claimants come in at.
Again, those are high dollar claims.
This is your total claims. So this is all claims that are coming in against the buy-up plan, but generally it's those high claims that are going to drive this kind of overage that you're experiencing. Okay, so that's current state. This slide should look familiar. We looked at it last time. This is the mid-year projection. So this is taking into account everything that we know up through the point that we've been getting bids for renewals and what we're projecting for next year. There is one plan coverage design change, which would be adding coverage for venous insufficiency and bariatric surgery. Those do add about 0.5% to the total claim volume expense to the total to the plan, and so the projected claim increase is 11.72% is what we're projecting. All right, let's get into contracts. And I do apologize, as I was looking at this, we had some version control issues, so there are two corrections I will have to make on this slide in regards to the term of some of these contracts. Specifically, as it relates to the FMLA administration and the on-site clinics, both of those will be 3-year terms on these contracts. The cost on the right is a 1-year cost, so that's the first-year cost of what we're putting out there. So major medical, our selected carrier would be Cigna. It is a 3-year term. Again, the budgeted amount there is $14.3 million. That's roughly where that 14.9 is coming from. So that all aligns with what we've talked about before. Renewal of Dental Source and Cigna for our DHMO and DPPO, 2-year terms on both of those. Vision would be a move to IMED. We do have a 4-year agreement with them. Basic Life is with Hartford for a 2-year agreement. Chubb is voluntary AD&D. This is a renewal with them for 3 years. FMLA administration is a change. That is with ComPsych. Again, that would be a 3-year term with them, and that would be moving away from the Hartford for FMLA administration. The on-site clinics, Everside, again, 3-year term there. Dependent audit services is that dependent verification audit. With DSI, that would be a 1-year, one-time contract. And then wellness would move from Vitality to Navigate on a 3-year term. Worksite, Cigna was selected for that one. This is one of those because it's a pass-through, it's more of an ongoing renewal in how that works. And then the final one at the very bottom is our benefits broker with USI. They are technically supposed to go out for bid this year, but we are recommending we extend their contract 1 year because they have guided us through this process, and Mark and I both want them to have to implement everything that we're selected, as opposed to having to bring on a new broker to help us with an implementation of multiple new vendors. The one thing that is still outstanding is stop loss. We did get those firm bids yesterday afternoon. Mark and I talked a little bit about this morning. There's a couple things we have to understand in terms of the fixed cost. One of the competitive bids came in where they've significantly reduced the claims to make it look like they're less expensive, and we've got to understand where they're coming from and where they're getting those numbers. Because right now they appear to be the lowest bid, but I'm not sure that their projections on the claims are appropriate given what we're seeing right now otherwise. So that one we will have to come back on. It will not change premiums. We already know where Cigna's coming in at as one of the higher ones. And so we can absorb that depending on where that is. So we'll bring stop loss back in April for a final approval there.
You commented that the clinics were 3 years, but I see it's listed as 5 on here. Is that a 5-year bid, but we can walk away after 3 years?
So they did originally bid 5 years for a 5-year contract, and that is one of the things that we've negotiated with them, and they've updated the contract to be 3 years. It just didn't make it onto my slide. It's the same thing with ComPsych with the FMLA administration. So both of them came back with 5 years, and we've adjusted it to 3.
I know the board wants to stay with them for 3 years. We also want to look at the data, right? That's what we talked about last month.
Correct. So if we can make note that those should be 3 when you're voting on this, that would be awesome. All right, so then this is what monthly medical premiums will look like. So as we discussed last time, buy-up plan, we would see that increase on that employee only to $125. That's roughly a 67% increase on a monthly basis from what employees have in the current plan. Now, when you talk about the cost share between the college and the employee is paying roughly 13% of what we're budgeting as that premium, which is very, very reasonable in the market, quite honestly. But I do anticipate this will be a place where we will hear noise from a lot of employees, and it'll be a significant thing we'll have to do a lot of communications around. The rest of those, we did move that base plan back to a $0 plan. We opted not to adjust the buy-up because it's already going to be noisy where it is. So we're going to absorb that change there. And so you'll see, there's no cost share there because we're paying all of that for them. It's the same thing on the high deductible health plan in that realm. On the dependents, the cost share is roughly around 30% on average in terms of the employee pays about 30% of the premiums. We pay about 70%. So, and then this is the plan design. The only plan changes here are the annual deductibles on the high deductible health plan. These are to align with the mandated changes for the IRS. And then we are increasing the HSA again to $1,500 on a one-time basis. So that $500 would come in early to help with any expenses. So, and then this is dental and vision. So you can see here what the cost would be. There are no changes to premiums on these. So these prices will stay the same for the employees in terms of what they pay and what their cost would be in both of these options. So wellness, so we would continue the employee and spousal non-wellness surcharge of $75 per month. This is where if you do not complete that physical with blood work by the designated date in March of next year, then they would be subject to a $75 surcharge. The same thing for tobacco and tobacco usage. So again, they have to complete that attestation during open enrollment. And if they do attest to being a tobacco user, they have to complete a smoking cessation program in order to avoid that surcharge. Again, we will be transitioning to Navigate, so we have a little bit of a transition plan that I've shared here around that, where we'll need to give a termination notice to Vitality. This is one that will create some noise again among our population because a lot of people are earning points, and so they'll have a deadline of when they can earn their points, when they have to redeem their rewards by, and then when the new plan will begin. So you'll see a little bit of that in here. And there will be a gap of about basically between April 1 and June 1, where we won't run any program specifically through a wellness vendor for them to earn points or anything along those lines. So this is our overall timeline that we're looking at. So we are looking to launch open enrollment communications on March 1st, assuming board approval. We'll be hosting a series of leadership team meetings. We've been working with the leadership team to specifically come into their leadership team to talk through these details with them so that when employees are commenting or asking questions, they're well educated. We're also hosting Teams meetings where individuals or anyone can join those. And then we will have benefit fairs on campus where all of the vendors will come on, open enrollment the first 2 weeks of April. So lots of different communication plans. We're looking at any and every way that we can get information out because there are a pretty significant amount of changes. And I think there's going to be a lot of questions that we have. One of the things in particular we're building is how to educate on that high deductible health plan and help people better understand that plan, when you might select it and why you might use it, and using all of those pieces of it. So then this is specifically what we're asking for approval for. And so I'm happy to run through this, but I think this is everything I just covered on the contract slide. Questions?
Questions?
No question from me, just a very well done job.
Thank you.
You know, 11.7% increase is a lot, but that's what based on our population and the claims.
Yeah.
So very well done. I would make a motion, unless there are other questions, that we approve as presented.
Second the motion.
We're not there yet, sorry. It's back to back. This is the presentation, then we go into the.
Then you get to vote.
Then we get to vote.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the chair had to read.
Thank you.
My vote still yes.
Are we ready for debt issuance?
No, now we actually have to do 3.1, sorry. I threw you off. That was 2.3, now we're at 3.1.
Voting.
There you go.
It's
Voting on
confusing,
3.1.
sorry. Now, Rodney, you can make your motion.
We have a 2024 benefit plan renewal recommendation, which is 3.1.
Second.
Who made the motion? Okay, Rodney made the motion and Doris seconded.
Can I offer a friendly amendment? Just because we says as presented, but FMLA and onsite really needs to say 3 years based on the correction. So if we do as presented, that will show us 5 years. So just a friendly amendment to say, with the exception of those two being 3 years instead of 5.
Everside, the clinic.
Which Tanya said in the
Yes, but in the actual
Just make
board
sure that
docs, it shows 5.
clear. Good. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. It was unanimous. Now, we will look at debt issuance update.
So in July, when we had the meeting, the board workshop, we had talked about when we would talk about issuing debt, and we want to start that process. So that's what this presentation is about. We're not asking for a specific amount or anything like that. We just have to do some front-end legwork. There's a action item for you at the end of this. But I wanted to give you an idea of where we're headed. And so this timeline was established by Piper Sandler, and that in order to get to a debt issuance, which would build, and under this arrangement would be in June, we have to start now. And so we have to start developing documents and doing our legwork with S&P to get our new bond rating, that type of stuff. The plan is to bring back to you on April 18th, your board meeting, sources and uses, you can see it up there, the final, what we're talking about issuing, the offering documents, and then, what we're going to use it for, what the plan is to use it for. As you know, we're spending approximately $450 million on building these projects. So when we talk about the $225 million, which I'll show you in a minute, that's less than 50% of what we're talking about building. So when we talk about the uses of funds, it will be used for those projects. The problem that we get into, and we'll talk about this slide, which is the initial thoughts on debt amounts, is we're borrowing today for a completed project that's a few years out. And so the question is, how much do you borrow? How much do you borrow today? And so if you remember back in July, I was promoting $200 million. I still think, based on everything that's going on, that we might be able to achieve that. But the problem is that I'm making a forecast that's years out. And you don't want to have to come back and redo this whole process. So we're looking at around $225 million in the fund to be deposited. And you can achieve that multiple different ways. And without getting in the finance side of this, you can issue at a premium, you can issue at face value, or you can kind of go in between. They all can achieve the same dollar amounts into the pool of funds that would go into a trust account. So if you'll notice on this one, it says, well, if you issue at 100.898, you'll have $223 million in the fund, $3 million on the premium, less the expenses will get you the $225. In the end, when we go out to sell this debt, we're looking for what's called the lowest TIC. That's that about right in the middle of the page, true interest cost. So we're trying to get the lowest cost. Now, from a practical standpoint, you need to realize that when we do this, we go out and we pay at a certain rate, and then the interest rate that we actually are charged is different than what we pay at. The pay rate is generally 5%, which is the far right-hand column. You'll see the average coupon rate. The reason why you do that goes back to an issue of what I think I explained in July, but I alluded to it earlier. It's called duration, and what it is that the actual rate, if you look at it, 3.8%, can rise up to 5%, and nobody who has purchased our bonds would have to take a loss. And so investors like to see a coupon rate that's higher than the actual rate. Now, what that means is that if in the far right-hand column, if you took that approach and said, hey, 3.8% is the lowest amount we can get, we would get a premium of $24 million, $24.5 million. That premium would be amortized, charged into our financials over the life of the debt. So I'm going to leave it there because we could get down in the weeds, and it's not really that important at this point. It might be more important to you in April when we come to talk about the actual amounts and how we're going to do it. What I did want to do is give you my planned amortization of this debt. Now, if you'll notice, the way I've structured this is that the total payments every year would be $20 million under each one of the scenarios. And so what you're trying to get is that red number on the far left as to the lowest amount. And so you charge the interest rate that is, that we achieve, that TIC, and that will tell you exactly how much interest we'll pay. The payment rate, though, is still 5%, roughly, or $20 million. So I tried to focus this on a 15-year amortization, which is a little bit lower than most offerings are. Most offerings are in the 20 to 25 range. Now, you can sit there and say, wow, you're going to pay it off in 15 years. Yes, we will, but that 15 years doesn't actually start till 2028. So if you go today, that's, really 19 years, because we'll pay interest only until the projects are done, and then you'll start paying principal back. So the key here is we will be able to amortize it in a shorter period of time, which I will promote to S&P and everybody that we have a good bond rating. I'd like to get it to AAA. They're telling me that it doesn't really matter whether I get to AAA or not, but I still would like to do it. And we're at AA+, and that AA+ rating will get us roughly the rates. Now, those rates that I showed you on the previous slide actually have come down in the last couple of days, and this is something that I watch daily. And, we can't really focus and pick a date out there without getting all this approved from you tonight. But we can't really look at it that way. You have to look at it as you're going to have to accept the rate that when you get to that point of selling the debt. there's not much I can't delay.
When you said they're coming down, you mean the cost of debt is coming down?
The cost of debt is coming down. The TIC, the actual true interest cost, is coming down a little bit. Now, one of the reasons why this is coming down, and you have all this issue. So, for example, just this morning, and I talk about the opposite side of this equation, which is investing money. I invested $18 million at 5.35%. You'll see that on the next board report. That rate, which is high, had come down over the last few days, actually 2 weeks. It was down below 5. And the reason why it was below 5 is because everybody expected the Fed to come in and start lowering rates. Well, the Fed came out and started saying, "Oh, well, we're going to take a more measured approach, and we may not lower the rates." I'm not a big fan of lowering the rates because that affects us on the inflation side and it affects us on everything else. So, but we could get into an economic discussion, which really isn't important here. The important thing is that when we go to market, we're going to have a really good story. We're going to be able to to amortize this in 15 years, and we'll be able to get the funds that we need in order to finish the projects. And that'll be a discussion in April, and then if you follow the timeline, it would be in June when we would issue. Now, I'm the accountant in here, and I don't know if I want to issue in June or not. I may want to issue in July. And the reason why I want to issue in July is because our year end is June 30th. And so do I want to go through all this and rush it to get before June 30th? In all probability, S&P and also the lenders are going to ask me to update on a draft basis our financial statements on it for an annual basis. And so if I get to June 30th, the closer I get to June 30th for issuing the debt, the more likely they're going to say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I'd just soon give them the full year. Now, I can do that relatively quick, 3 or 4 days, and I'll do that in the month of July. I'm just telling you that the way the schedule's set up, it's June, but we may delay the actual issuance till July. And it's going to depend on rates. It's going to depend on, how many hoops we got to jump through. It depends on a whole host of things. But this, I put this on here. The lower left, UMB Bank is not. This isn't for approval tonight. I'm just using them because we used them in the past. That's not necessarily how that's going to work. So the trustee would not necessarily be UMB. Who the financial advisors you have approved, Piper Sandler. Bond counsel is Gilmore Bell, Sean Flynn, who has handled all of our bond offerings. Gilmore Bell has, and they are the premier firm in the city for doing this. So the approval would be for Piper Sandler and Gilmore Bell to do the legal work that's necessary to achieve, what we're going to approach you with in April. So there is a.
And then the underwriter is not selected at this point.
Well, one of the things that we're talking about doing is just going to market and not doing an underwriter. Is that you would just go out and have people bid for the bonds. In which case, if you think about what an underwriter is would go in and buy all the bonds, and then they turn around and sell them at a profit. Well, that increases the TIC because they get a fee. So we're talking about going direct to market, and that would lower our overall interest cost.
If you went direct to market, you wouldn't sell all of them to any one person then, unless somebody. Well,
I might. I mean, here's the thing: if it's going to be who's going to give me the best deal, who's going to give me the lowest interest rate. So if J.P. Morgan Chase comes in and says, "Hey, we can give you 2.9%," sure, we might talk about them placing it with them. It's not guaranteed. And here's part of the problem is that $225 million is a big offering. As I was telling Dr. Pittman when I was sitting in the CFO meetings for MCCA schools, and they say, "Hey, is anybody going to have any debt this year?" And they said, "Oh, we're going to do $15 million. We're going to do this." And they said, "Hey, Mark, how much you going to do?" Well, it's probably going to be around $200 million. That's a big number. That's a big number. So in all likelihood, you will have multiple bidders. And the key is getting the multiple bidders to give you the lowest rate. And I know it sounds, maybe a little bit overkill here, but a few basis points is important to me. I mean, it's just important. If you can get 10 basis points difference between this, that lowers our interest cost in the long run. Makes us look better. So it's just a matter of getting the right deal and the best deal for the college.
Might be helpful for trustees for you to turn what a basis point actually means when we get to that point, not now, but
Okay,
we get
that's
up
fine.
there and say, why are we doing this? Because a basis point means X over the next 15 or 19 years, whatever it is.
So at the April meeting, the plan is to bring Piper Sandler back in and to bring Gilmore Bell back in. There's also a couple other vendors in here that, you have short-term investment strategies and stuff like that. And there's all sorts of things that probably will come back, but that'll be the April meeting.
Short-term investment strategies, meaning you sell those bonds, now you got another big chunk of money, and you kind of sit on that for a while. So how do you invest that?
And I got to figure out how to get the most interest income. So now I'm over here on the other side saying, how can we achieve the highest return on the funds that we have on deposit? Now, I will tell you, and this is just, these numbers are really round, but the whole idea back in July was to make sure that we had about $100 million spent. Now, the reason why is that you all passed a resolution that we can reimburse ourselves. So that $100 million would come back to the college, and I would invest that. There's no arbitrage, which is a technical term, but there's no issues with arbitrage on money that we pull back out. So the key would be
keep that money forever.
Well, you could, and you can invest it or whatever you want. The problem that the IRS has is the IRS says that I can't take bond funds and that I'm borrowing at 3.5% and make 5% for any length of time. That's the arbitrage issue. Now, the reason why I say $100 million is because we will spend. You have spend out requirements on the $225 million, and that $225 million will have to be spent within 18 months. So if I've got $100 million that I've already spent and I can take it back out, that goes toward that 18 months. It just collapses the time so that we don't get into any arbitrage issues. Okay.
Fascinating stuff. I mean, it's very important. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot.
And
of
we're
money.
delivering wonderful products for our students and for the community. So
Absolutely.
don't want anybody to ever taint that in any way by saying something, whatever that something was.
No, and so this process, nobody will be able to say, "Hey, you could have got a better deal." That's what we're trying to achieve. So there is an action item. It's fairly lengthy, but there is an action item for this to authorize us to go ahead and start the process and go forward.
Okay.
So I think it was in your board docs.
Mm-hmm. Just see if any board member has further questions or want to explore any part of that. Okay. So there is an action item. We need a motion.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the Community College District of St. Louis County, Missouri to proceed with the offering of sale of certificates of participation.
Second from Nicole. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Unanimous. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think I'm next too.
Next is the FY25 credit hour base fee schedule.
Right. So if just some background, we talk about that enrollment is key for us. We want more enrollment, and that's a key. And you look at the cliff that's coming as it relates to students in the in K through 12, the numbers are going down, and all you have to do is back up to 2008, and you can see why some of that bubble is coming through. So you're looking at it and saying 25, 26, and for the few years you're going to see lower enrollment. So we're sitting down there and saying, well, okay, we may see lower enrollment, but we can't really control that. I can't go out and get more people to have kids that are now 17 years old. So the question becomes, where can we increase enrollment? And if you remember, during COVID, we increased our online component because we had to. And so we invested with federal money and also with our own money into infrastructure for Canvas and all these online type programs that we would operate. So today, if you want to see what you would pay to take a course in district or out of district, out of state, international, these are our rates. So you have $122 for in district. So if you live in our district and you want to come for online or you want to come for in-person, we're charging $122. Out of district's $171, same online and in-person. So, and out of state is $232. So the question ends up becoming, is there an opportunity here to change our pricing structure for out of district and out of state? So we want to promote that we would change our out-of-district and out-of-state numbers to $125 above the in-district rate, so there is a benefit to being in-district, but then this is online only. This is not in person. We didn't want this program, this $125, to change a person's plan for how they were going to, achieve education at St. Louis Community College. So we didn't want to encourage our people to go to online or anything like that. That has nothing to do with it. This is only out of district and out of state online tuition. So if we change it to $125, you say, okay, well, how much is that going to cost me? And I'm going to show that to you in a minute. But you said, if I'm in St. Charles County, and I'm not picking on St. Charles, but if I'm in St. Charles County and I decided to come here, and I'm a current student here, and I'm paying on an online course, I'm paying $171, well, then why wouldn't I come here for $125? So I'm not looking at losing any students. The issue is gaining students. But it does have a risk, and that risk is what we're currently getting in revenue. So you get Missouri out of district is $931,000 of revenue for the fall, $867 for spring. MSEP is the multi-state program that allows us to offer the same rates over in the state of Illinois, and they can do it. We are actually, the college is not actually a member of that anymore, but we do honor MSEP, which is for those students right across the river. Out of state, 245 students, and these numbers are actual. This is what we had for the fall and for the spring. If you change that to the 125, you go from $2,343,000 of revenue to $1,689,000. The key is marketing. And I know Jennifer Arvin's in the room, but the key to this is marketing. So I want you, as a student out of district, to come to our college online. The reason why is, as I was talking to Renita Luck earlier today, who's in charge of our online education, we can go up 1,250 students without having to add any software. I mean, it would be a nice problem to have, but as you'll see here, you got to have at least 636 at 12 FTE, 12 hours per FTE for the entire year, 318 per semester. We think that's doable. And the issue is with the marketing of $300,000, we're risking $1 million. That's the risk, that you wouldn't get any more students. You aren't going to lose any students, but you wouldn't get any more students. So we need to get out and get on top of the van and talk about this. So you can see here, I tried to throw in some revenue numbers from the audit. So our audited tuition revenue is $19,429,000. That's after all the discounts and everything. So this $653,000 on tuition is 3.36%. That is at risk. And on the credit hours, it's to break even. It's 2.78% of our total budgeted credit hours for FY24, which is 274,000. And then at the bottom, you can see the lost revenue potential is 0.56% of our entire revenue. And then we lose around 6% between the spring and the fall over on online education. The next slide shows our competitors. Now, we rank these according to miles from us. And so if you look at the top 4 schools, you're within 75 miles. We believe that the target area for this is really within 50 to 75 miles of the college, including across the river. So down at the bottom, you'll see some of the issues for Illinois. But you can see this, what we're showing here is our proposed rate of 125. The next column over is what their base tuition is for an in-district person. So if you want to go to St. Charles and you want to take an online course for a base class, it's $140. Our out-of-district would be $125. So you could actually have a $15 benefit per credit hour by coming to our online courses. Now, all of them are calculated there, and you can see as we get further away, they become less important. North Central, is 232 miles away, and it's $135. So we don't need to do it. So we put this in a graph, and you can see where the 125 lands with everybody's base, and I'm focused on that, their base in-district tuition. All the other colleges have tiered tuition, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So you can see that if you took St. Charles, East Central, Jefferson, and Mineral area, which are the 4 closest schools, and you said, okay, how did they charge tuition? We have a flat fee, $125. And on our in-person, it's $122 for in-district, $122 for online. They don't do that. So if you look at St. Charles, again, that $15 that you saw on the last slide shows in the general education classes. But they have Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 courses. They've gone to tiered enrollment, tiered tuition. East Central doesn't do that as much because their Tier 1 courses are general ed. So it gets real murky as to how you analyze this, but those are the numbers. So if you're at Jefferson College and you're in a Tier 3 course, assuming you could get an online course in Tier 3, that's always important, you would save $170 per credit hour. Now, I'm not going to go through and read these. This is what's in their tiers. Okay, so all of our classes, we don't tier, so all of our classes are in there. But if the base is general ed for St. Charles, that'd be, your basic courses, history, math, some lower level math courses, and also English. And then you'll see in Tier 1, they go to medical assisting, and then they go all the way up to nursing, practical nursing, and their associate's degree in nursing. So if you go back one slide and you look at St. Charles, you'll see that on their tier 3 courses, if you can do an online course, you would save $130 on Tier 3. And so we're trying to do this, and there's multiple reasons. Last spring, Dr. Pittman, we had a little argument with MCCA, but we came out with an agreement that all new money from the state of Missouri is based on FTEs. So we want more FTEs. So the more FTEs we get, there will be some cost offset. So if we can get 636 full-time equivalents out of this, then that's break even, but we would get more FTEs, in which case we would actually get more money from the state in the budget process. So we could talk all day long about the tiers, and that is important because Jefferson College just announced their tiers, and if you look at it, physical therapy, assistant practical nursing, rad tech, and registered nursing are all in Tier 3. So if you're right across the line in Jefferson County, it makes sense, even on in-person, for you to come in and take classes at St. Louis Community College. And I think Jordan's here, he can attest that he's getting calls from Jefferson County because they've increased their tuition.
I will make the caveat that their program is in person, as is ours, right. But we do offer an online elective, which could otherwise be the lower tier for the online model that would not be available if they would still consider theirs to be.
But The 171 would be the out of district, and it's still lower.
Exactly.
And that's for in person. So we're only talking up here about online, but our rates are still lower on in person, even if you use out of district. Now, you say, well, why didn't you include international? So there's some obviously all sorts of politics here, and we are trying. Okay, we just didn't think it was appropriate.
Well, one recent update, we had our President Chancellor meeting yesterday, and for those who reported, everybody, it sounds like they're going to a 3 to 5% increase in tuition and fees. And then we're the only community college in Missouri now that does not have tiered tuition. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think we're the only college. You know, it's a pricing strategy. And I didn't realize how prevalent the tier model was until this year when we started looking at this in detail. So we're really offering a tremendous value.
Well, and I would argue that part of our was to provide the nursing and other more expensive majors at no cost to students so that we can get more people in here and get them out the door.
Yeah.
And so the St. Louis County and city taxpayers are really underwriting. So it's a little interesting sitting here thinking that, well, we're benefiting the people who live in our service area. We've got to be a little careful about bringing in people from outside the service area at no cost. But I would like more enrollment. I mean, I get why you're doing it, and so I don't have any more to say. It's just we're going to have to see what happens over time.
Well, I will tell you, and it's one other thing, and it's coming up next, I think, is that we're not recommending increase in tuition.
Right.
Now, this will be the 4th year in a row. And I don't see really I don't see an avenue to do that until we get close to the end of Transformed.
Right.
Because in Prop R, it said to hold down tuition. And so and here's the thing, even if we increase tuition by 10%, dollar-wise, it just doesn't get us much. It just doesn't get you much. And we're here, as we said, okay, so who does this benefit? Yeah, we might get more FTEs, but it benefits students. They will get a better deal.
I mean, we will soon be, everybody will know, we are the place to go for nursing because it's so much cheaper. I've had that discussion with individuals, and most of them just don't know, right? They want to be a nurse. Yeah. They don't even go find out how much does it cost. Then they go off the Gold Park. They're nuts, but,
Well, the 4 years are shooting themselves in the foot. UMSL's up at $400 a credit hour now. And, so is, Southern Illinois. They're high up there. I mean, at some point in time, somebody has to look at it and say, well, okay, do I do this or do I do this? We have to maintain the quality of our product. That's the key.
Is there any risk, this is probably a question really to Jeff, if we market all this, I mean, what will that do? I mean, does it look good or look bad to whom?
That's a great question. Jennifer and I have talked about how we market this, and Jennifer basically asked the good question, well, how overt would you be? I think it would be more, we would advertise this just as our price. Jennifer and I talked about geofencing in the surrounding counties in Illinois and Missouri, that if they look at the class or they're interested in the class, they see what the price is per credit hour. I don't see us putting up billboards comparing pricing or anything that overt. I just think we've made the investments in online education. We have really qualified and excellent staff. We have the infrastructure in place with IT and with Canvas. So I don't think you're picking up a lot of operational expenses by doing this. Will it cause some consternation? It might. But, the Missouri Community College Association, they agreed on a competitive model for funding for enrollment. So, I mean, to me, that's when the board talks to me about goals and one of them is increasing enrollment, we're trying to respond to that any way that we can. So we're taking that seriously. We have no, I'll just say this straight up, we have no best practice data of what happens when you lower tuition. We don't know. We just see this as a strategy to try. to see if it does generate more interest in enrollment in our online education. And in some ways, this is kind of a, fill in the gap move until we get these buildings up and operational, which I think will have a very positive impact on enrollment like it has Forest Park. But it's going to be a little while before we get there. So we know that there are a lot of higher ed institutions in our metro area, a lot. We know that there's going to be fewer high school graduates. We know things are going to get extremely competitive going forward. So we're trying to position ourselves in the market the best that we can.
I have a question, I guess, with that. Why would we not want to be more competitive in advertising the savings to, certainly I know from high school students, St. Charles Community College knocks on many of their doors indirectly of wanting to recruit people who we pay taxpayers for whatever the stereotype or whatever the belief is about it. I just don't know why we wouldn't want to advertise the savings, because in my eyes, for this specifically, we're not taking away seats from our taxpayers. We are filling up seats that are not being filled currently to meet the maximum capacity. If we get to a place where we need to grow number of sections to feed out-of-district people, that's a different conversation. But based on the numbers I've seen, we have seats available that are not being filled by taxpayer people, local in-district people, that we're trying to recruit and fill those to maximize our efficiency. So to me, I don't know why we wouldn't want to go after more aggressively of marketing the savings to students until we get to the point of now we're costing taxpayers more money. Really what we're trying to do is utilize and make it more efficient and effective based on the resources we've been given as a district. That's my first thoughts.
But that's a great observation. And yeah, I mean, all of these classes will be originated out of St. Louis County. All of them. So it's not like we're going out and offering things outside of the district. I mean, I think that's one way to look at it. How we market it, we're talking about that. We'll certainly follow the board's direction on that. We're trying to think what's the best way to kind of back into this market in a strategic way.
Why wouldn't we market just the way we kind of already are with the STLCC Transform? And one of our strategies is pricing. We have the local funds to expand into the needed majors or pathways or whatever, and we're keeping tuition low and affordable because we want people to come.
That's right. Well, Jennifer stood up, so she's probably got, but what Jennifer and I talked about, we're getting ready to launch a new marketing plan sometime soon.
Yes.
That we want to go on with, but I think this pricing strategy just could become part of that.
Exactly. So as you know, we're going to be launching a new enrollment campaign in October for spring enrollment. So you will see new television ads, new campaign. But the way I envision this, and we took that $300,000 as a ballpark sum in order to kick this off. So I envision a quick to market to get this started in June, largely digital. So we would take digital fencing and go in the 50 to 75 mile area around the district. So no one would be served an ad that's inside the district, only people outside the district. So we would be hitting that target market in this quick to market strategy, offering this price comparison. As we develop this new advertising campaign that will be rolled out in October, we would want to finesse that message even more. How could we incorporate this online out-of-district messaging in a way that parlayed into this new ad campaign? So when I created this $300,000 budget, it's a ballpark at this point. I'm envisioning perhaps as we move into year two, we would like 3 years for this program to really determine if it's going to work. And the great thing about digital advertising is we will know if people are clicking on the ad, if they're responding, if people are enrolling in these online classes. So as we move into year 2 and 3, maybe we will adjust what we need to spend. But for right now, I'm estimating that being $300,000 a year, if that makes sense.
I think based on just our general conversation, it all works if people know. And that's, I think, where you were going. You don't know what you don't know. I don't know it. I would have signed up for it, I would have done it, but I don't know that. You're just saying that people across the river know, and so the plan is excellent, outstanding. But I'm kind of piggybacking on Kevin, that somehow we gotta let them know.
Right. Well, the advertising will be there. I mean, we will be letting people know. But in this first phase, it would be more of a subtle, it's going to be digital advertising. So if people are searching for online tuition, colleges, they're going to see our ads that will bring them back to a landing page that will talk about this out-of-district tuition, right? And let's see how that works and what the response is, and we can adjust our strategy moving forward.
So I found wonderful, and I don't understand all of this advertising, but how did the people that you were mentioning just across the river, how did they find out?
And specifically, most nursing schools and students who want to go to nursing school know of every other school. Often you'll shop around who has the shorter wait list, where it would be easier for me to get in, what requirements are there that would get me
So they were
faster.
not targeted specifically?
Not necessarily, but I mean, I can even speak from personal experience. I looked at nursing school, I saw St. Louis Community College, UMSL, and Goldfarb, because those were in my area. St. Louis Community College was affordable and had less of a wait list. I could also have less credits to get in. That was a key for me. Most will stay in their area if it's convenient.
Did you have the perception that it was as excellent instruction and education?
Yes. I knew that, I'm not just speaking that because eventually I became the dean here. But I knew St. Louis Community College.
He's not biased.
But primarily, it was its reputation in the community. I was already in the hospital setting, so I was seeing nurses and I was seeing nurse practitioners and all of those that were in the area that came from the school and came from UMSL, came from Goldfarb. There's a place for everybody. Eventually, you start to gear towards, but I can get in there first. And since we're now everywhere in the metro area, they can get in much, much quicker, while that's why other schools may be seeing lowered enrollment rate in nursing. We're one of the only ones that has actually increased over the last 7 years because we've had the available seats.
I
We've
think
been removing barriers to enter.
I think listening to somebody that's in, like having a test, almost like a testimonial really, of saying, hey, this is how I did it and you should do it too. I think it's very, it's very compelling. I still, to this day, I float around in a lot of different communities, but the one that I'm there, I still, I work, 40 hours a week. People are like, oh, really? They do that there? I mean, I'm still like, yeah. But I think the more, I just think it's such an awesome. This whole thing is so amazing. I just want everybody to know about it, and I want it to be fun. I want it to be exciting. I want people to be fired up, and I want the message to be excited and fired up.
But I think that you'll see this new enrollment campaign that we will be launching in October. You're going to see some new energy and some new ideas, and not just talking about come to college, but the differentiation and the programming that we offer.
Cool.
So that, we will take this quick to market strategy to get these ads out and running, but then in October, we'll try to pull in this online tuition message so that it's part of the,
There's a little bit of an apples and oranges thing going on here, and I just think it's good to pull that apart. So the whole idea of selling the college and why would you want to come here is not related to online.
Correct.
$125 an hour. That's what we need to do in general, and pathways and everything else ties into that. Back to the $125 an hour. You're going to do geofencing and you're going to try to get that out and see how that works. We'll see how that works. I just wonder if there's also, if I'm thinking of going online and taking courses as a student, I don't even know the answer to this, but is that just a student who says, I think I'll just take psychology?
Well,
Or is that a student who might say, here's a cybersecurity program that the community college is offering online that I could take from Rolla for $125 an hour. Why wouldn't I do that?
Right, and so right now, if you go to our online program page, we have 5 programs that are completely online. You can get your entire associate's degree online. There's others that have 50% of the online components. We also have Core 42 courses. So the messaging is going to, vary. Are we trying to pull that student from Mizzou who wants to get a couple extra courses over the summer and the online tuition is cheaper? Or are we looking for the student that, wants the entire online experience? So there's going to be some work the marketing team is doing. I'm meeting with Renita Luck next week, actually, to kind of really dig into this so we can formulate a really clear strategy, because there's a variety of things.
I just said this, but I think he said, we need all those people.
I'm sorry, one more, I'm really right with you. One more question, if I can. Is it, so you looked at 3 schools, where am I gonna go? And your decision was, because this field's so competitive, they have open seats? How did you know that?
When you apply, they often tell you. Among other things, it was the cost. I mean, I'll be candid. I was going to go down to a school. I had been offered first a position at the school down the street from Forest Park. And I saw the $90,000 price tag.
That's right.
And then I got a call 6 months later for Florissant Valley, which was down the street from my house. I said, I wanted to go there anyway.
So the money was the issue, not so much they have seats open.
Yeah, it's both, because some people, you would rather get in earlier, some people you'd rather save money. It just depends on where you are. Most students in
And also, how long does it take, right?
Yes.
And that is, Gold Farm has an accelerated program, which they...
And it's a rolling admission. Our program admits in the fall and in spring. They go 3 times a year, so you're more likely to get in summer or fall. And then by the time I would have started, it was, we have a spot for you here. It's like, okay, that's right.
Well, that's what I was holding on to.
Because when you apply, they tell you where you are on the list, what's your expected enrollment semester. We do the same with our program too, is you're this number on the list, and therefore your expected enrollment date is fall of 24.
Thank you. Okay.
So I'm hearing, aggressive is okay.
Yeah.
I think the prices, I do want to go back to, I think Rod's comment, and I think about, when I was in college, I was at 4 institutions at one semester. I knew I had to get so many credit hours in order to start my major classes. So I looked online. I was at the local community college where my college was at. I was at back home, and I was at the neighboring one back home and I was at 22 credit hours that semester in order to make sure I could get into my major classes to graduate in 4 years instead of 5 as a 5-year program. I do think it's an important piece to look at the people who want the one-off credit hour class to get that. And of course, I'm sure using search optimization to figure out really that. To me, that $300,000 is, I don't want to see targeting the college, advertising the college. I think it's important to advertise solely the savings from taking our online classes to see if it's working. We already advertised the college. We have a different budget for that. Right. If we're spending $300,000 that's directly related to potentially losing $1 million, I want to see it driving towards telling people about the savings they can have by filling in these online classes.
Agreed.
To really see if it connects. Because of course we already have a campaign coming out.
Right.
I just want to be very clear in my opinion, it needs to be targeting
Agreed.
about the savings for the college that you'll be saving money to take these online classes. Yes, our nursing program is wonderful, but we know nursing's in person.
Right.
There's a couple electives. That's your other campaign. But if we're spending $300,000 with a potential risk of $1 million with that $300,000 in there, to me, I want to see it really about the savings and targeting that message. Is our messaging hitting and driving that increase? If not, then we need to change strategy, go back to tier pricing, wherever the case may be. But I want to see direct correlation between that data and not just enrollment increases, but specifically online, even if it's one random class.
Agree. And one of the things that we've talked about is potentially you could geofence Mizzou and say, hey, over the summer, what are you doing? You could be taking a class at St. Louis Community College at $125 credit hour. So there's a lot of ways we could do that. We could promote Core 42, but only in the Missouri counties, right? And say that these classes are guaranteed to transfer, but the message would be a little bit different in Illinois because we don't have the same agreements.
Even within the region, people are graduating high school this year to even take some credit hours to get ahead without needing their financial aid is another big thing. I don't know why we don't fully do always.
One thing I'll add to the thought mix here is on the Missouri side, we receive a significant appropriation for the state of Missouri to operate. Okay? So serving, to me, why can't other Missouri citizens take advantage of that? The benefit that we get from our core funding, which is significant, why can't other Missourians benefit from that? I mean, I think that's, to me, that's part of this equation. It's just not, the local funding's part of it, but we also get what, Mark, like $46 million a year from the state?
46 this coming year.
Yeah. That's significant.
And that's not a change, right? I mean, that's always been true.
Yep.
The change here is that we're going after them with the line.
Yeah.
I still keep
We're expanding
piggybacking
our
on
market.
Kevin and what you just said. It's a Missouri school. You know, I think sometimes we think St. Charles or Mizzou or whatever, but promoting it's a Missouri school, so come on. I don't know how you do that, but the idea that Kevin was saying is laser focusing is really important. And then when you add a concept like, you know, sometimes I think we just think it's St. Charles Community College like that's not a Missouri school. So I don't know how that goes in any mix you're thinking about.
The idea of marketing directly to Mizzou students.
I love that.
And, you know, I love that.
Go.
And it doesn't matter whether they live in St. Louis County or not, right? I mean, just for $125, you can take whatever good course.
But
is.
that
Random
idea
English
of
elective.
branding what we're doing as all of Missouri. You know, because the name says St. Louis, and in some ways that stops people from thinking outside St. Louis.
I didn't care where my classes were. I just cared about graduating on time. I can tell you that right now. Did it transfer? Did it get me what I need? It was an online
You
full.
probably will be insulted, but you may not be the typical student.
I may not be, but there are some out there who do not want to
But
delay
you
their
have the
degree.
specific plan, and I'm certain it's great. But it's kind of good to get this kind of just dialogue
Yeah.
to, you know, to see if it fits with what you're thinking.
Exactly. So that, you know, we're in the beginning stages of really putting this plan together. We're meeting with the media buying agency next week because we want to understand how much can we buy if we're going 50 miles outside the district, 75 miles outside the district. So we'll have that pulled together within the next few
I
weeks
do have another
and hope to
question for
launch
Mark.
it in June.
For Mark, unrelated to the advertising costs. You know, I think we've talked a lot about the student services fee over the years, and so I know this past year we committed more money to that. Do you think the $5, keeping it at that, will maintain what we need? Will it be sufficient in the amount, or do we need to change that? I know you're proposing we don't change it. I just want to make sure. I know we don't necessarily have the food costs in there fully yet, and those other things.
It grew to the end of the second quarter to $1 million on the fund balance, so we do not need
another
change. We don't need to increase it right now.
Got it.
And that's after taking the $100,000 out there into the scholarships.
Which is why we instituted the fee to begin
Right.
with, of figuring out what the right amount was.
The key here is, you know, this is the finance guy talking, right? If we can if we don't raise our tuition, and everybody else is raising their tuition, this gap starts to grow to where it's going to be a decision point for somebody. Whether it's the parents, whether it's the kids, they will decide. And as they keep going and we hold steady, because we can, we happen to be blessed right now with what we've got, so we can hold it steady. And as we hold it steady, they just keep getting further away from us. And so that when you get down 3 years out, 4 years out, and you say, hey, Mark, we need to increase tuition. Well, then whatever we increase will be less than what's going on the other side. So, the price model, the key is it's not because we're cheap. It's because we're good, not that we're cheap.
Some years ago, we did an investigation, and we found out that students do choose to come to community college based on tuition. And if we raise it, because we did for a few years, it lowered enrollment. You know, so I don't know that we can fully explain that, but we're after a student who's very price sensitive.
Well, my key is I want to get this, as Dr. Pittman said, it's really kind of a stopgap because there's an inverse correlation between unemployment and our enrollment. And that that unemployment's going to go up based on what the government's spending and all that stuff, which we could talk about forever. But if that unemployment goes up and there is an inverse relationship, then I want to be there to gather those students. And this is the way you plant the seed. It's no different than Everside. We can talk about Everside all night long, but the key is I've got to slow the cost of increase, because if I don't, you're going to wake up in about 5 years and you won't be able to afford health care. So this is in advance.
So what I'm hearing, board's in favor of this, and the next item is us to vote on the actual fees.
Right, it's to vote on the fees and the tuition. So that's I don't know whether I don't have a presentation on that, but it's in the. There's only two things on the fees, and we can go to that section if you want. On the fees, there was an $80 fee that was added for sonography that allows the student to be able to save their imagery and get, and pull it back up and test over time. The second thing is, and actually Jordan's here so he could talk about this, we have a situation where if a nursing student in certain classes has to pay a fee to Academos now, because we were doing it through the bookstore, which is $100 higher than we can get the product. So there's an amount in there for $290 some odd dollars. That is an increase in a fee. It's not showing for last year, but that's what that is. We're trying to get a cheaper cost to the student. So we increase the fee. They would have to pay it through Academos, and they would be paying more. Now, between now and then, I've got to get a carve out on Academos for that. That's my problem, and we'll deal with that. So other than that, the other increases that are in the fee side are all based on a third party. So the Red Cross increases their fee to us, so we increase it. The tuition, it stays the same except for online, which is shown in that one visual that you got. So it goes to $125. So the request is to approve the fee schedule and also the tuition schedule for the online tuition going to $125, leave all other tuition alone.
I would accept a motion for that.
Move to approve the FY25 credit hour based fee schedule as presented.
Married seconds. Any further discussion? Bowling's going away.
Yeah, bowling's going away.
Just wanted to say that.
It's going away even in the foundation because it doesn't make any money. If Joanne's here, she may not be here, but we don't make any money in bowling on the foundation, so that's going away too.
It was in the detail.
Right.
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Board policy revisions.
One more, I'm sorry. I move to approve the FY25 fees and fines schedule.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Now we have board policy revisions.
These are just a reminder of the Nursing Mothers Act and Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that's from recent legislation. So I move to approve as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay. Board policy, ABC.
So every year the board's been approving for the last 3 or 4 years, Craig, you say, and Rod? 3 or 4 years, 4 years. We've got our policies back on track. This year's were sections A, AP for board, section B and section C. Myself, trustee G, and trustee Robinson also done that, and we appreciate the administration's willingness for that. These will be for a lodging today to vote on at the next regular meeting or special meeting, one of the two. If anyone has feedback, they can email the board at stlcc.edu. I will say some high-view changes. We mirrored the Missouri Ethics Commission resolution regarding conflict of interest and personal financial disclosure. So we took their language and incorporated it in here. It was not in here before under the board for Section A, really, and clarified those pieces of it. The rest of it was just kind of working with Dr. Pittman on what actually happens with his evaluation, what's the actual process, just cleaning up some of those languages of what we do. Nothing major in A or AP. In Section B is all about general administration. It was some language cleanup as well as trying to convince Dr. Pittman to give other days off, but we didn't change holidays yet. But certainly working on freedom of expression, which is always an issue on college campuses, and thinking through compliance and employee pieces, and just some minor things we found from the first time we revised it, just things that were missing that we just wanted to include. And the last one is C, which is really the largest section. It's a lawyer's favorite section because it encompasses, I think, 30-some sections of our policies. The biggest one, I think, if approved, we started 3 years ago instituting 6 weeks of leave for mothers or fathers for children, and now we're proposing to increase it to 12 weeks of paid leave that would not incorporate time. On top of employees could always take their other time on top of that, but certainly to increase 12 weeks after 6 months of being with the college, which we think is certainly a recruitment tool of you can work here for 6 months. Most places it's 12 months before you get FMLA protections and things like that, but for 6 months you would be able to get, for parental leave specifically, 12 weeks without a loss of pay for birth or adoption of an employee's child. I think that's the biggest one, as well as cleaning up some language around educational benefits for our employees and what tuition reimbursement looks like. Those were the two biggest things in there. Rod and Nicole, if I'm missing anything, please chime in there. Otherwise, certainly I would move that we approve the lodging of board policy section A, AP, B, C, and note all areas within those sections as reviewed February 2024 with an effect date of July 1st, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to lodge the policies. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. And I know it's a lot of work. Much appreciated. I think our next item is trustee travel. Would be a motion to approve Mary Lukey and Craig Larson attending the Association of Governing Boards National Conference in March.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Delegation of hiring authority.
I recommend to approve the resolution authorizing the chancellor to approve new hires, reclassifications, and full or partial moving expenses with approval from the chair and vice chair until such time as revoked by further action of the board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I don't know if Nicole was on here last time. Every about 6 months we approve this resolution just to reauthorize. We started it during COVID to allow swifter hiring. Before we used to have to wait almost a month to offer people employment, and so we found with the employment world it is, we can't wait a month anymore. So
this helps HR and puts the authority essentially with the chancellor. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and I think a second. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, authorization of chancellor to approve contracts and bid awards.
So moved as presented.
Second.
This is essentially because we don't have a meeting. Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we have the approval of employee benefits that we have discussed, right?
I move to approve the 3% cost of living increase for NSERP plan benefit payments effective March 1st, 2024 for the NSERP plan. Approve participants or the beneficiaries of such participants.
Do we have a second? We have a second?
We have a second.
I'm sorry.
So sorry.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, academic contracts, agreements, motion? Anyone need to present this? We okay? Just need a motion.
Oh, God. Knock it off.
Nope, go
Cole,
ahead.
make a motion.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
And it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Abstained. Has first floor on there. That's why I wasn't making the motion. So you all were waiting for me to make it, and I wasn't being any part of it.
You weren't doing it, okay. Okay, where are we here? We are ready for the consent agenda. You pulled an item.
It's already been pulled. It's 5.1.
5.1, okay. I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Rod and then Mary. Anyone want to discuss any of those items, ask questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And then your pulled item, please, Kevin.
So I move to approve the facilities resolution 5.1.
But I think you have some questions.
We need a second though first.
It's been moved. Was it seconded?
I'll move.
Mary seconded it, so it's now on the table. We have discussion. And
Yes.
Kevin, please ask a question.
Anybody
can ask
Yes, I was
questions.
reading
Kevin.
through this and it came to Trustee Robinson's thoughts came to mind and it just never dawned on me before. And so the question is really around, I notice a lot of things in here say the lowest bid instead of points. And I believe the last meeting we talked about MBE, WBE having more weights, and so that just triggered in my mind, why are we not seeing points and who has the most points versus the lowest bid? And so, because I don't believe they're always the same. And so I'm just curious, are these presented as the lowest bid or the highest points?
I think the language can be clarified. Let me answer your question first of how do we rate bids when they come in? They are not rated on we take the lowest and best. So lowest is a factor, but it is certainly not the only factor. Trustee Martin, I think you asked last time about the points, and I got confused because you asked, don't we get 10 points? 10%. So you're right. If it's 100 points, we do rate that. So we take a look at a number of things when we're evaluating bids. It's the quality, because we want to make sure we have a good quality. Reputation of the firm, whether they do meet the MBE, WBE requirements that we have. Price is a big factor there. And so those are all weighted and certainly could share kind of our bid sheet that we get back. And so to your answer to the question I believe you asked previous meeting, we do factor that in. There are points for those who are going to meet our requirements for MBE, WBE, or that have for the most. So it's going to depend. Some of them may not be able to do the 15% and 12% that are our targets, but if they offer the most, they get full points for that. So that is something that happens. To this month, taking a look at what we have for facilities, there's a couple things there. So I do think we need to clean up the language and just talk about that lowest and best, not just lowest, which is some bad language. If you take a look at the bid for Integra, for example, so this was for our esports program, you'll see in that we did not take the lowest bid. We actually took the third lowest bid. And the reason for that is because they're able to offer, or we're recommending, they're able to offer a significant MBE, WBE proportion in the construction work they're going to do. So that's one that I wanted to point out. The one where I think you saw over and over again, low bid, where there were also some opportunities for WBE and in one case MBE was Clayco. So let me just talk about that a little bit. With the Transform projects, we have two different ways that we bid those out really at different campuses. One where we got the whole bid at once and so everything is baked in. One where we're bidding it in sequence. And the reason for that was just to be able to maintain our schedule and the speed of what we're trying to accomplish. So we have a construction management firm and we have a general contractor, which are the relevant ones in this case. They have committed to an overall goal of MBE and WBE participation based on our targets, based on the agreement when we initially awarded and approved that general contractor award. Then they're going to go along and fill this in with subcontractors. And in some cases, and this is a small dollar amount, so on this project, it's about a $60 million project. What Clayco's asking for in this is about $3.6 million total, so it's not a big chunk of theirs. They're taking a look at, all right, what are the various bids that we got back, and they're balancing that. They're looking at price, They're looking at MBE, WBE. They're looking at quality. But a big component they're looking at is schedule. They've got to get subcontractors that are able to come in and do the work so that that critical path keeps moving forward. And so in the case of Clayco right here, because some of these are small dollar differences, right? There's only $3,000 more, and we wish we could get some WBE involved. I think it was about $16,000 more to choose the MBE organization there. So in this case, again, they looked at it. It turned out we want to go with all low bidders, but a lot of that is on schedule. I thought it would be helpful, and this is something, there'll be a presentation in May about our MBE and WBE results for the college overall. Transformed is a part of that. But just to give you a quick update on where are we for Transformed. Because again, what I'm holding our construction managers and our general contractors accountable for is what is our total project numbers. So we take a look at Transformed overall. We have $265 million under contract. All right, so it's a little different from the money spent. These are things where we have signed contracts that you have authorized, so we've got contracts in place. Of those, we've got $27.5 million for MBE, $50 million for WBE. So the ratios there, the percentages, we're at 10.3% for MBE, and we're at almost 19%, 18.92% for WBE. Just as a reminder, our targets are 15% for MBE and 12% for WBE. So we're not where we need to be for MBE yet, but we are way over for WBEs. One of the challenges that goes to MBEs is there's fewer firms. Those firms are highly in demand, which the challenge goes to scheduling again. Is they're going to be a little bit more expensive, and maybe that's all right. As you see with Integra, that's the direction that we are recommending to the board. But the problem is they won't be able, because they have contracts, they're in demand, they've got contracts, they're not able to actually do our work in the time frame that we've got allocated to do our projects. So that is one of the challenges that our construction managers have put in front of us. That's one of the challenges why you'll see. The goal, again, is to take a look and say, these are the college's targets, and our general contractors and our construction managers are working towards meeting those goals. The highest that we have right now for MBE is 13.2%. That's on our Advanced Manufacturing Center up in Flo Valley. The highest that we have for WBE, it's a near tie, but we're almost at 26% out at Wildwood for WBE. So more than a quarter of the dollars being spent on that project overall to this point, or being contracted, excuse me, are for WBEs. So that's kind of where we stand.
Can we get from now on the points for each of the companies, what the total bid points were?
The challenge with that is until we have, and I will certainly ask General Counsel, until you've authorized it and we have an executed contract, I have wanted to ask counsel on that, because I believe that's actually a closed record until we actually have an agreement in place.
Okay, that's fine. We can ask. Certainly, though other institutions do it. School boards, I know, do it where they post it before it's voted on the board. They'll say what the actual bid values were of each. The point. They'll give you how many points for this company, this company, this company.
Total points.
Total points.
Okay, we'll take a look. And if that's it, I think that's certainly doable.
So then my other question is specifically on page 4 and 5, which is on the interior finishes at Merrimack. There are two that you mentioned, and I'm just curious. The one for fireproofing is less, it's like $3,000 difference to go from 0 to 100% WBE, and the other one was under window treatments, which is like $6,000. Was it solely scheduling? How much scheduling difference, or was it the money, the lowest bid?
And I can look into it. I don't know the exact on there. I will tell you, when I asked, okay, these are very narrow differences, what are the reasons why we wouldn't choose one, again, that meets the board's direction? What we got was, again, it's also quality. Hey, this contractor has worked with this firm before, and the quality wasn't there. So again, it is a judgment where we work with the construction manager and the general contractor and our engineering and design firm to take a look at these bids and say, this is our recommendation forward. So I can find out about those specifically, but that's what they're all trying to juggle to make sure that we can deliver on time. And going back to, in general, the overall goal that I've been managing towards and the team has is we need the overall project to meet those numbers, which is the schedule, the budget, and the MBE, WBE, as well as having a high quality building. So certainly can look into those two, because it was noticed by all of us that they were very close in price, and just to really understand why we didn't go with those. So I can track those down.
And for me, Mr. Chair, I would like to pull that one until we have that information specifically, until we have that information about those two, to vote on that specific bid and move forward with the other bids personally, until we have that information, because it is so close. I don't want to delay things, but also
it would delay it 6 weeks.
Well, they can approve it as much as fast as the chancellor. We just gave authorization for the chancellor to approve through the chair and vice chair as well.
I mean, that, if we get that and move quickly, that wouldn't delay us. But yeah, if it's till the next meeting, it would absolutely throw the schedules off for that.
But you could provide that information to us.
Yeah, I mean, I can go get, we can get the bid sheets. We should be able to get tomorrow, or if not, early next week.
You want to amend the motion?
Yeah, I mean, if other people, I don't want to be the only one before we move forward with that. I just think, again, if we're talking about goals, that dollar amount is
I have
pretty close.
a comment, but it's not specifically related to that, but it's something that I noticed when I was at Forest Park about a week or so ago. And I see we're buying EV charging stations, which is fine, but our signage needs to say it's for EV parking only. When I went by the new building at Forest Park, there were ice cars sitting with EV cars can't even park and charge. So if we're going to put in stations, our signage has got to say, if you park here, you're going to get towed if you're not an EV.
And I think it does up at the top part of the new building. If it doesn't down, we'll take a look at the signage there at the other side.
And then enforce it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not doing what we're spending money and not using it right.
So, Rod, do you think we should pull it and wait for the information, or?
No, I just think it needs to happen, because folks that invest in EV, they pull up to the building, there's no place to charge their vehicle.
I think he's
I'm talking about the first one I was requesting to pull. Go forward with it.
Go forward. I trust that he'll get us the information.
Well, I'm saying if he goes with the information and we find out it wouldn't schedule delays, we already moved forward with the bid, we can't switch it to the new bid, though. For that $7,000 difference. Once we approved that bid, we couldn't.
So just the new effective date would be March 22nd. It got on the March approval agenda.
Unless we change the motion. We could authorize a different motion to authorize the chancellor to approve it with the vice chair and chair.
What do you think, Nicole?
I'd say wait.
Say wait?
Yes.
You have 2 waits?
Fine.
You have 3 waits.
So I'll amend the motion then.
Thank you.
Are you ready? Just gonna type it. So to approve facilities resolution with the exception of bid F23607N, which may be approved by the chancellor with the chair and vice chair approval for execution. Does that sound good, legal counsel? Perfect. And I don't know who made the second.
Nicole seconds that. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
And I think Rod and I would both agree. What you're pushing, the board completely supports. So
we have a timeline. I get it.
Yeah.
I just, my concern, I'm sorry, I should have had comments. My concern is just to make sure that there's that, if we're looking at a clay code, that they're really following our request to make sure we have those bids from the MBEs, you know.
So, I mean, just to let you know where they're at 9.65 in MBE, but they're at 24.6% for WBE. So, I mean, they're not ignoring this. Yeah. So when you take a look at our total MBE and WBE, 27% is what we're targeting, 15 and 12. They're at 34.25%.
And that's not the only thing for me that I'm looking at. I think it just drew my attention to it, and then I didn't see points, and then I just see lowest bid, and I'm like, are we just going with the lowest bid?
Yeah, and we're
always? Not. And I think if there's a large point difference, because then I think you're looking at those other factors of schedule and quality and other things, it would help me understand, okay, it's not just the WBE difference, it's also there's 15 other point differences that whatever your rating scales were that allowed you to say this one is better. As well.
And I do think, one factor there, scheduling is key. And I think in this case, budget is as well. You asked me to manage your budget, and you just heard Mark say, I'm not going, I can't if we keep spending more, right. But that's something that you guys get to authorize me. The scheduling is something there, a bid gets put in, they say, can you meet this schedule? The bid gets put in, the bid gets open, and they're in this conversation. And it's not just the lowest bidder. I mean, we do have the interviews with them, and it's all right, when exactly? And sometimes those come out as, oh, well, actually, with this other contract we just won, we have to slip some dates. So I do want to just caution that rating sheet doesn't look at timing. It looks at timing of they say, can we make these dates or not? Or that'll look at actually, usually it's the smallest, we can do it in 28 days. We can do it in 35 days. So they're rated on 28 days, but it isn't necessarily that, hey, I can do it in 28 days and I can start exactly when it slots into your Gantt chart. And I think that's something that I just want to make you very clear about, because otherwise, we do have one finishing in November, one finishing in December, and we will not be able to make those dates if we slip too much. In this case, I'll get you the information. I think we'll be good.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. I believe we are ready for the chancellor's report.
All right, thank you. Dr. Larson, good evening, everyone. We all need to stand up and do calisthenics or something. You're all looking like kind of pretty droopy. So I want to start out, and Jessica just left the room, so I'll wait for her to come back. But we're thrilled to have Amy Clendenin here as our general counsel, and she's been here a while, and she's still here, so we're glad about that. And she replaced Lucy Singer, who has gone on to other things. And I'll say something when Jessica gets back. I think some of you may know that Jessica is leaving the college, and we want to congratulate her on a job well done. She's been terrific in working with the board and working with myself, so we're all going to miss her as she moves into this next chapter of life. So join me in congratulating her whenever she gets back or at the appropriate time. So a few items here for my report. There. Well, that looks like a lot, but I'll go quickly. So I want to give you some updates on the general session that's occurring in Jefferson City right now. Talk a little bit about spring enrollment. We had a meeting this past week with Washington University. I want to update you all on that. Recent panel discussion I was involved with at the Regional Business Council. Justice Service Luncheon that was really cool. That I'm amazed at what our faculty and staff are doing with St. Louis County Jail. And then just quickly I'll give you an update on Falling in Love outcomes that many of you attended just a few days ago. So with the legislative update, I've managed to spend more time over in Jefferson City already this session than I think I should do for the whole year, but there's just so much going on over there right now, and I keep getting called back in to testify on a couple of bills. But right now there's a core increase proposed by the governor's budget of 3%. That would be around $1 million increase to our core funding if this gets approved and through the legislative branch. We also are up to be approved for an additional Mo Excels grant. This is one-time funding from the state of Missouri for $2 million, and that's for nursing, I think the LPN program at Flo Valley. Capital improvements, Mark went through this already, but basically it will be a total of $62 million when it's all said and done. What you'll see recommended for appropriation is $57 million for Flo Valley and Wildwood. We've already expended at least $5 million of that, probably more now. We just keep spending money every day because the bills are coming in fast and furious on the new projects. I just ran out a minute ago to talk on the phone with Brian Milner. We're working on Senate Bill 1075 and House Bill 2310 to improve transfer opportunities for our students. We want a full 60 credit hours to transfer to a 120 credit hour bachelor degree at any university, public university in the state of Missouri. And as we present, I always enjoy watching the legislators' eyes. They're like, isn't this already happening? Well, not really. The problem we face, or I guess I should say, the problem the students face is that they have to follow a specific transfer path for each university in the state of Missouri. And that's confusing. I mean, it's a maze for our students. If they want to go, for example, they think they want to go to UMSL and then they change their mind and want to go to Mizzou, even within that system, they're in trouble because they have different transfer guides for each of those institutions. So we're trying to find a universal means for 60 hours of transfer so our students can start at the junior year. This would be in our Associate of Arts and Associate of Science programs. We've heard back from Mizzou today, and we're in a discussion with them about they're wanting to focus on the Bachelor of Arts degrees. We think there might be some concerns with that, but we want to get Mizzou endorsement if we can on the language. So Dr. Langer's done a great job of working with us on finalizing the compromise language we now have in front of Mizzou and all the entire COPE network of classes. We'll keep you updated on that. We're just working to get the best deal we can for our students so they don't lose any credit or time when they transfer. For A+, they want to keep in what's been there for the last couple of years at 61 million. And then we're watching probably the 25 or so personal property tax reduction bills that are going on right now in the legislative branch that could be of extreme concern to us within the college that could impact our budget in a negative way. Spring enrollment, I want to commend Dr. Davis and her team. Regina's here, and all the great work they've done to increase enrollment. You can see the numbers there. Dual credit, dual enrollment did a great job and came in at a 4% increase this semester. Forest Park always, just kind of continues to amaze me, but I think you're seeing the new building effect and new programming effect that we're hoping to get at all the campuses when all these projects are done. Forest Park was up over 8%, Merrimack was up over 4%. We did notice an anomaly. We were down about 71 students in new student enrollment. So we're paying attention to that. And, Dr. Davis and her team, they have a really hard job. I mean, they're trying to match best practices for when you enroll students to retain them. Okay, am I saying that right, Christine? At the same time, we're trying to remove as many barriers and make it as easy as possible for our new students to enroll. That's not easy. It's a hard balancing act that the student affairs team have to focus on. That includes marketing. I see Jennifer out there. I mean, in terms of how we market and work collectively with all those student assets, like, the admissions form, like the website, like this student schedule. I mean, all those things come into play with new students and the ease of enrollment. So we put together a small, by small I mean 6 people, 3 student affairs staff, 3 academic affairs staff, just to take a look under the hood of what students need to do to enroll here, to see how easy or difficult it is, and then have a discussion after that. Are there changes we need to make? This simple approach worked well with our district-wide course scheduling method, so we're just looking at this well with the task force in terms of how we enroll. Trustee G arranged a meeting with Washington University Assure program. That's an anesthesiology summer research fellowship for college students. So our healthcare students are eligible to be selected to serve, and Jordan Cooper was there at the meeting. And it's a 10-week program, summer program for students to see they're interested in this particular field of medicine. They get a $7,000 stipend, and they get to work closely with WashU students and researchers. So I thought it was a pretty cool opportunity, and it's not a huge amount. What they take 21 students a year, but they're interested in expanding the diversity they have in this program. So we are a natural alignment for them. So that was really cool, and thanks to our Trustee G for lining this up with us. And we're putting the word out to all the students about the opportunity right now. Then on January 25th, I was invited to participate on the higher education panel presentation to the entire Regional Business Council. That's composed of nothing but CEOs for companies and businesses here in the St. Louis region. And you can see my colleagues who presented with me. We had a lively discussion about the opportunities and threats to higher education today, as we all operate in a very highly saturated market of higher education in the St. Louis region. So it was interesting. I enjoyed the conversation. I couldn't help. I broke into a couple of commercials about all the great things that we're doing at St. Louis Community College. But I just think when you look at our tuition and fees versus the total cost of higher education, I just think we're very poised. We're poised very well in the market right now for what's coming, particularly with all these new and expanded programs we're offering. So I think the citizens are really starting to look more closely at their choices in higher education, and they're going to do more so in the future because of the cost element the tremendous cost of going to college right now. And I just think we present the most affordable pathway in the entire region. Just a few days ago, I believe it was last week, I was invited by Dr. Sam Page and Bob Fox to attend a luncheon to honor Doug Burr, Scott Anders, and Jeff Smith from St. Louis County Jail staff. And Jeff's on a board to help, align our thinking. But we have programming going on in the St. Louis County Jail that's been very successful. We would like to expand that as most of these individuals will be leaving the jail at some point, and we want them to get them out into the workforce and lead productive lives. And we want to thank all those gentlemen, but especially Doug Burrs, who came out of retirement to make this happen. So he's retired again, and the new director's name is Keto Bess. And we've met with him. I had some time to talk with him during the luncheon. There was just a few people there. I was very flattered that they thought to ask me to be there, but they see us as a critical partner for the future in working with those individuals that are detained in the justice system. Then, Falling in Love Gala Outcomes, our total revenue was $317,000. We had, I think that's a new record of total paid guests of 328. I don't think we could get many more people in there, but I want to thank the foundation staff and board members and all the trustees. Thanks for attending and for throwing in your support that night to make that night a success. I thought the food was good. I thought the service was improved over the previous year, so it was a fun night, and we raised a lot of money for our students. Finally, Saturday, Jordan and I are heading down to San Antonio to compete in the Bellwether Award. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we have the best presentation. This is my 4th trip down there, and I'm like, Jordan and Kim and Bill Hubble, they did a great job. They knocked it out of the park on the digital binder that they put together and our presentation. So how could they not pick us? It would be a big mistake, wouldn't it, Jordan? So we're looking forward. I mean, we're going to have fun with that. And be thinking about us, praying about us, whatever you like to do for that event. We hope we bring home the trophy. Now, Jessica, we were talking about you while you were gone. I let folks know that you're moving on, and we're going to miss you and your family. And your family has become our family. So we want regular updates on what's going on with you and your husband and the girls, and we wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you.
All right. You ran out. It was just like you ran out because you knew I was going to say something.
I didn't actually.
Okay. That, Mr. Chair, concludes my report.
Thank you. Next item is the board chair's report, and I'll keep mine fairly brief. I will start off by saying, Jessica, as you know, you've got comments from all the board members on mine. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with you, and you've been very easy to work with and thorough. So thank you for all that. Good luck with your family. Thank you. My comments, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ACCT conference that most of us, all the trustees attended. Keep that short, and then just briefly comment on the Emerging Scholars banquet that I attended last night and how I think that so aligns with our mission. So this year, probably the first time since COVID, we had lots of trustees from around the United States back in Washington going to the annual legislative conference, which is a chance to hear from a variety of good speakers and folks that are involved in politics about the importance of community college and what legislation is being proposed and what the opportunities are there, and then a chance to go up onto the Hill and meet with our own reps and senators. And we got a chance to meet with both senators. I thought Eric Schmidt did a very nice job coming in and being more than welcoming and personable to all of us. And we had a chance to really learn a lot as trustees. Other trustees may want to comment on that. But I would say that a message I took out of that whole discussion is that this is probably the best time for community colleges in decades. I mean, probably you'd have to go back into the time at post-World War II when community colleges really started expanding and growing to find a time when we're being recognized as a very important part of the development of the economy and the development of opportunities for young people. We've said several times tonight that the number of young people coming out of high school is going down. That's certainly true. That's just facts. But we offer a great opportunity for those folks, but also for workers who would like to, take a step up in life some way, and we allow that. And when you look at our typical student body, we aren't just 18 to 23-year-olds. We're not that at all, actually. We're meeting the needs of all kinds of students. So we heard that in lots of different ways, and it was really a very, very well done session. I look forward to our continued involvement in that particular conference. Last night I had a chance, and Dr. Langer's here. He was sort of the lead-off MC, so he can correct anything I say that's wrong. But we, for the first time as a college, recognized what we call emerging scholars across the whole college. That program is 25 years old and started at Flo Valley. And similar to the way it started at Flo Valley, there's a committee of faculty who work together to kind of put the whole project together. And it's a chance to recognize emerging scholars. And again, I think the definition is the same as it was before, and that is students who have finished 24 hours now with a 3.5 GPA, but started college needing remediation in 2 subjects. So think about that. Just that's a huge lift for students. And it was great to see we had, I don't know exactly, but around 20 students recognized it. That seemed about right. And complimented them, had them come on stage. And I took away from that the diversity of our student body, because they were all kinds of folks. One gentleman brought his 7 or 8-year-old daughter with him. Obviously, she's paying a price while he's going to college, right? So she's there. She gets to hold the certificate and share that. I was more than heartwarming. And then there were all races, all ages and genders of folks. Maybe just a little heavier on women, which is sort of typical of our student body in general. But I was really pleased to see a 30-year-old man, obviously changing his life, and he had one of the higher GPAs too. So really, really an impressive event that I want to thank our staff for putting together, because I know it's a heavy lift to do an event like that and have people come, and the families. We had well over 100 people there to support our emerging scholars. So a great event that absolutely highlights our mission as a college. With that, I will draw my comments to a close, and I think we have a citizen who wants to address us on a topic that wasn't on tonight's agenda.
Yes, we do. Officer James Kenner.
Yes.
You're up.
Good evening, board. This subject matter is something you guys probably have not been presented with, so it's somewhat preliminary. But I don't want to come to you as a police officer. I'm coming to you as a board member of the Insert Committee. And I have to tell you, I just learned this week that Mr. Swatner proposed this thing this past week about the Insert being outsourced to an outside firm. We sort of disagree, so I'm talking to you as an Insert member, not a police officer, because it's not very prudent to disagree, because he's technically my boss, which I just learned this week. I thought Al Atkins was the boss, but he's the top boss. So to disagree with what he says in front of you guys is probably not very prudent. So I got to talk to you as a board member. So we're under the impression of the committee that we think that the resources in our insert that are being run now by the young lady named Michelle Reynolds. She's doing an outstanding job. She's very effective, and she's very efficient, and she's good at what she does. And I think she's been on board now for about 2 years. Now, prior to her, there were some issues with other employees, and I think that caused the HR to do some type of study, and the study said that you would be more efficient if you outsourced. But that was previous to Michelle Reynolds taking over. And what she's done in the last couple of years has been simply outstanding, and the board all agrees. So essentially, our committee, insert, that retirement board, it is worth a net worth right now of $64 million. We have our actuaries set up, we have our attorney, we have the auditors, and everything is running very smoothly. And the college, you guys have supported this insert since I think 1969. And it's going extremely well. And the investments, our investors, Safe Street, they're on the plus side, 15, 18, 22% on an average per year, each quarter. Maybe not each quarter, but an average 18 to 24% per year. So we think that if that was outsourced to this company by the name of Econ, we don't think that company is going to serve us very well. We would like to keep this in-house. And any questions and problems that the employees have, Michelle Reynolds, she's accessible, she's honest, and everything. She can make an appointment with all the employees at their request, and she gives the necessary information. If you retire on such and such a date, this is how much money you're going to make. She's very personable, she's professional. Now, I know that HR and the finance department, they're gearing towards going to this company, Econ. And again, it's my understanding that when they took bids for this a couple of years ago, Econ is the only company that responded to the bid. So I think that if you guys vote and say, well, maybe it should be outsourced, I hope that there's a further review. I hope there's more scrutiny than just to automatically give this $64 million retirement fund to just this one proposal, this company, Econ. So that's basically what I have. I don't think you guys even know anything about this. This might be preliminary information for you, but I thought it was essential that I share it with you before you get this in your plate within the upcoming weeks.
Righty. Thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome. And thank you for your service. Chancellor, you guys are doing a great job. All the instruction, things are going real well. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
It's the board's position not to respond to comments like this, but I would just say that as I understand the issue, there's nothing that the college is thinking about doing, getting rid of changing the actual retirement plan. It's just a question of who would administer the process of working with the retirees and employees. So, and we don't know anything about it, so we'll learn more later.
Yeah, and you will. That'll be coming to you probably in the upcoming weeks, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're certainly welcome. Thank you.
Board member comments.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, I can be 5 minutes longer. But this was a very inspiring and I think productive board meeting, and nothing but being impressed by the work everybody's doing. And so if I can say that all work is being recognized, all the things that are happening are exciting and invigorating and mind-blowing, and it's too late to go through all of that. And, the legislative summit was really good, but all of it is to support the work that you guys are doing, and boy, are you doing it, so congratulations.
I spoke enough already.
Well, I'll just reiterate, because I think probably a couple of years ago we were sitting here worried about enrollment. And so I want to again thank Dr. Davis and the entire team. That is an awful lot of hard work. And for the college to have growth, student growth, credit growth, it couldn't have happened without not only their work, but also the marketing team, the finance team, the faculty, all the staff. That is great outcomes when you open up the paper every week in St. Louis, and on the front page is some college or university going through some abysmal time. So for the community college to be where it is, my hats off and my sincere thanks to everyone for all of the hard work. It is really appreciated.
How about board members? Let's give them a round of applause.
And following up on Trustee G earlier recommendations about ice cream,
Yeah.
we're working on that.
All right. All right. Let me know when.
Don't do it last Friday when there was snow on the ground.
If I don't hear any other comments, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody that's opposed can just stay.
Aye.